first up, we have Dave Prager. Dave, can you join me on the stage here? Let's kick it off with lessons learned. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you great, man. I love the art on your wall.
Thank you.
Great.
Can you hear me now? I just switched cameras, so who knows what's going on.
Yeah, still can hear you great. So
Awesome.
I'm gonna get out of your way, and I'll see you in like whenever you're about to be done. I'll watch you from the behind the scenes.
Yeah, you bet. I prepared like 45 minutes, but I'll condense them down to like 35, so we'll be good. That's a joke.
Well,
That's haha.
aha. All righty, got me there. All right, I'll catch you in a bit.
All right. So first of all, thank you for having me. It's 8 a.m. where I live here in California, so I wanted to keep this interesting. So I actually used AI to develop a bunch of my slides, develop the visuals for my slides. And as you'll see, there were varying degrees of success. Actually, the first thing I tried to do was use AI to build the slides themselves. And this was the outcome, which is both awful and really, really compelling. So I think if AI learns a few buzzwords, all of our jobs are in danger. So the first thing I want to tell you about is AI. You'll see a lot of that in this one. Second thing, my lessons today were drawn from a problem I faced early in 2022, that brand and PMM at my company were misaligned. And when I say brand, I'm using it as a shorthand for creative, meaning copy, art, communication, social, all of those things. I'm curious if anyone else here has experienced that. And if you have, please write what it feels like in the chat. But I want you to write it as if you're an AI pretending to have human emotions. So while you are writing as an AI pretending to have human emotions, I'm going to show you what AI thinks it looks like when brand and PMM are misaligned. I think that's pretty spot on. So I come from the world of B2B SaaS, and here's how this battle manifests in that world. When brand and PMM are misaligned, the creative doesn't match your strategy or your vision or your business needs, or it doesn't convert, or it does convert, but it attracts unqualified leads, or when the leads come in, the sales scripts don't land, or the sales team is embarrassed by the creative and they won't use it, and there goes your big distribution channel, or if sales slows, they blame marketing, and then your boss calls you into her office and tears you a new one. And actually, here's what an AI thinks of your boss coming in and tearing you a new one. So one of the things I love is that the AI actually placed a fake stock photo watermark over the photo. AI learns from us, I suppose. Okay, so that was part 2A, the problem that I'm going to talk about today. And here's part 2B, the solution I'm going to talk about today. This is not generated by AI. This is me. I did this myself. I'm a big fan of Kurt Vonnegut. And if anybody else here reads Kurt Vonnegut, you know that he plays with the concept of time. He lays out the entire plot of the book right in the opening chapters. He tells you what's going to happen. And then the delight, he tells you what's going to happen. He tells you what's going to happen at the end. And then the delight is not knowing what happens. The delight is how he gets you there. And so hopefully I'm going to emulate Kurt Vonnegut and delight you on this journey, because these are the three things I'm going to talk to you about today. If not, hopefully the AI will delight you. It's beauty and the horror of AI. So here's a visualization of AI, from AI, of Kurt Vonnegut looking deep into your soul. And that's pretty solid. And here's when Kurt Vonnegut recognizes your imposter syndrome, which is also pretty solid. Okay, so AI is the first thing. Second thing, the problem and solution for brand being misaligned. The third thing, which I'll talk about today, which probably should have been the first thing, is I'm going to introduce myself. And here's what an AI thinks I look like. So I fed it this prompt that you see at the bottom of the screen, and it gave me a couple different options. Gave me that one, gave me that one with my The Viper t-shirt, which I love, and that one. So I will go with the middle one and pretend that that's what I look like. So I run brand and PMM at Front, which is a B2B software company. And my background is actually relevant to both sides. I came up in the copywriting space in advertising, coming up on the content side, creative, went client side about 10, 11 years ago, running content and corporate marketing. Went to a startup where I ran the full stack of marketing, end to end, from a company that was 3 people all the way to 110 people. And now I'm running half of marketing here at Front. And so the major task in 2022 was unifying brand and PMM for me. I want to stress that it wasn't like they were fighting. They were actually really well, the collaborative really got along very well. The front has this amazing culture of supporting each other, but there was no strategic alignment. And what I mean by that is the creative would show up out of left field. It would show up with no strategy preceding it and no plan to use it. And again, it was good intentioned, but the brand team was unmoored from the business. And I got empathy for those guys because I understand both worlds. I have been the one creating the strategies that get ignored, and I've been the one receiving the strategies and reading them and tossing them out the window. So my role as head of brand and PMM was to make sure that brand and PMM marched in lockstep. And I'll talk to you in more detail about the solutions that I came up with. I'm going to point out now that I'm shifting from front specific problems to more abstraction. I'm dramatizing these problems, and not necessarily emblematic of what happened at front. I've generalized these to be a little bit more widely relevant. So let's talk about when creative is misaligned in strategy. So the brand team says, oh, we've got our creative, that's our final product. The PMM team sees the creative as a milestone in the larger product. This is an interesting insight in my mind. So most of the people in the brand team come up from the agency world, which means their job begins with the creative brief and ends when they hand the creative piece over. PMMs know that the creative is just a milestone in the larger process. And in fact, they know that because the PMM role itself is like a conduit or a waypoint. Stuff comes from product, hits PMM, and PMM's job is to get it to market. And so we recognize that creative is just one more step to really demand generation, to capturing leads, which then go to sales, et cetera, et cetera. We know that there's a whole continuum, and we know our job doesn't end until it's, satisfied customer way on the other side. Again, the creatives, they see things a little differently. Their whole industry really is oriented around this artifact, the piece of creative that they come up with, because they're judged by that, they're hired by that, they're congratulated by their peers based on the quality of the creative they get. And so they're trained to focus on the artifact, and they often end up coming out with creative that is really misaligned with the broader brand team. So the brand team values creative as an endpoint where PMM sees it as a midpoint. So how do you solve that problem? One of the ways I solved it was to get the brand team thinking beyond creative delivery to really look at the end-to-end. And actually specifically, and I'll talk about this directly, I engaged the brand team in building distribution plans. And so what you're seeing on the screen is a distribution plan being built element by element. And there's a lot of stuff in here. As it's animating on, I'm going to walk you through it to try to make sense of this noise. But what you're seeing here is a distribution plan for a thought leadership campaign. There are tons of moving parts, tons of deliverables, full funnel integration. It's very hard for the creatives to see the big picture, even very hard for PMM to see the big picture. And so the brand team tends to focus on the most tangible assets only. And so this is the process of thought that we walked through. We first started with the green assets, the primary assets. These are the things that are like the creative anchors, the things that get the most creative attention, whether it's the white paper or the cool website or the research project or whatever it is. And then we say, okay, we're going to take that primary content, which in this case we call a mid-funnel asset, and we're going to build a web page to host it. And then how do we get people to this web page? Orange is what we call derived content. So that's content that we lift up as inspired by the primary content and adapt for the medium. And what the creatives start to realize is, even though they're really focused on getting this primary content out, let's call it a white paper, there are so many other distributions and so many other touch points and so many other creative articulations they start to see the full picture. And by helping them go step by step, understanding how we're going to get people to see this amazing piece of work that they've created and what we're going to do with it after it's done, they get invested. They come up with these ideas and they get bought in. And now they actually become the quarterback of this project because they start to see the full picture. I always tell the team that you can't have creative without distribution. And this is the reason why. When people understand the distribution, then the campaign really comes to life. And the teams get aligned, obviously, is the point here. So here's what AI believes the relationship between brand and PMM looks like after this exercise. Yep, that's right. Hands coming out of nowhere to high five you, that feels about right. Okay, so let me keep going. Another reason that creative might be misaligned with strategy is because the creative is derived from brand position, positioning, while the strategy is derived from product positioning. Let me explain those two things. You're probably familiar with product positioning, which is the space the market occupies in the brand space in the market the brand occupies relative to the competition. Brand positioning is different. That's the space you want to occupy in the customer's mind. And this is what the creatives kind of glom onto. An example of this is Southwest Airlines, which is a really easy example. Their product positioning is that they're cheap and flexible relative to other airlines, but their brand positioning is joy, love, and caring. So in a vacuum, the creatives will focus on the brand positioning because it's emotional, it's evocative, it's easy to build creative around brand positioning. It's much harder to get them to focus on product positioning because it's kind of boring. So the solution is to align both teams on the middle ground and build a bridge between brand and product positioning. And the way we do this is what I call brand opinions. And let me explain this. On the left, you see Front's product positioning. This is where we sit relative to the other competitors in the market. On the right, you see our brand positioning. This is what we want you to think about when you think about Front. And so we combine these two in a big exercise to come up with our overarching brand opinion. This is the thing that Front believes in. This is the thing that we espouse. If Front were a human being, we would stand on a chair in a bar and pound the table and advocate for this. This is the position we believe in. This is the reason why we exist. This actually, by the way, is not just for the brand team. This is the product's roadmap. It guides the product's why. It guides our roadmap, its decisions for features and functionality. It's why our salespeople see themselves as consultants and not, umbrella salesmen who are closing transactions. In many ways, this is our mission. And so we want every communication to reflect this opinion, which again bridges the gap between brand and product positioning. We actually develop a bunch of supporting opinions, which I'm not going to read today in the interest of time. But needless to say, all of these are kind of focused on industry trends or product features or competitive differentiations. And they say why we do these things, why we believe these things. And we literally tie any piece of communication we come up with to a brand opinion. And in fact, we literally have a space in our brief that says, what opinion does this feature represent? Or what opinion does this communication represent? I want to give you two examples. When teams are overloaded by systems, messages, and notifications, it's the customer experience that ultimately suffers. That's a reason for certain features that we produce. And if you look at our release notes, you'll see that we actually reflect this in our release notes, the opinion behind why this feature exists, not what it does, but why it's there. A more salient example is this one. You should never have to choose between strong customer relationships and operational efficiency. This one actually manifested in our recent brand campaign. When you watch this video, and I have no idea if this video will play or not, if you'll be able to hear the sound, we'll find out. If not, the text over the screen should kind of tell the story for you. But look for our product positioning, which is customers who differentiate on the relationships. Look for our brand positioning, which is that Front is the champion for those relationships. Look for our overarching brand opinion, that relationships are the key to success, and look for the specific supporting opinion at the left.
Just replied to 1,000 customer emails, Gene. Nice work, Larry. Have some coffee. I didn't even read them, Gene. Nice work, Larry. Have some coffee. I didn't write my responses either, Gene. Nice work, Larry. Have some coffee. I use the same template for all of them, Gene. Nice work, Larry. Have some coffee.
All right, so I asked AI to imagine the human touch in an office environment. I was a little worried what it would give me, but I actually found this image kind of touching. It's pretty sweet in my mind. So I asked it for another one, and of course I was not disappointed. The human touch in an office environment, if you count the number of fingers there, there's just one more thing to be horrified by. All right, one more problem and solution from 2022. This is a bonus one where brand and PMM can't align on resourcing and prioritization. This happens a lot in any company. The brand seems one team seems one set of priorities, the PMM see another. What it really means to me when I see this is that the brand and PMM teams don't agree on what's important to the business and to each other. And so the way we solve this is to really force the alignment. And the literal way you do this is to have mandatory collaborative review sessions on quarterly strategies. This is the most painful thing in the world. We literally get into a meeting, we spend the first 10 minutes reading, one team strategy, 20 more minutes commenting, talking it through, moving on to the next one, the next one, the next one. 5 or 6 teams, you're talking about 3 or 4 hours just of reading and discussing. As painful as it is and as long as it takes, it's really, really powerful. And the reason why is that each leader digests each other team strategy, and they spot the misalignments, and they see the lack of resourcing and the duplicate work and the stupid projects that should be canceled and the handover points. And when they see these, they can collaboratively work them out and come to alignment well before the problems manifest. Without this, brand doesn't know what's coming, and now they can push back, they can reprioritize, they can refine. Without this, PMM doesn't know what's available to them. They don't know what the creatives are thinking in terms of themes. The creatives don't know what they're thinking in terms of themes. So everyone can align and change appropriately. Like I said, everyone hates this. It's awkward. It takes a lot of time. It's painful, but it's absolutely worth it. Okay, so one more thing from AI. This is what AI believes it looks like when 2 business people angrily review each other's strategies. Thank you, AI. I asked AI to re-roll this one because this one didn't quite do it justice. It came up with this one, which is pretty cool. Let's get one more where AI got a little bit abstract. Okay, so in the spirit of Kurt Vonnegut, here is what I told you I'd covered. I'm lucky because I'm in the position that both brand and PMM report to me. If you're not at this position, you got to start a little bit higher. You got to ask your counterparts, or ask yourself if the counterparts are seeing the same problems. If the brand team recognizes the same challenges that you recognize, then you can align on steps like this. And there's a whole strategy and a whole other talk about how to get that kind of alignment at the leadership level. And if not, then you do have to go to your marketing leader, your head of marketing, the person who sits maybe in the chair I do, and force this kind of alignment. That's a whole nother talk. I'm waiting for a next generation AI to write those slides for me. But in the meantime, one last AI to show you, then I'm out of here. I asked the AI to show the reaction to this speech, which is the faces of your audience reacting to my speech. And this is what it gave me. And what I love about this photo is that not only does AI know that in my fantasy world, everyone loves me, but they also know that in my fantasy world, everyone else is also bald. All right, that does it. Thank you very much. I appreciate your attention.
Love it, love it. So good. Thank you for this great entertainment. I have 2 questions. Well, actually,
Yes.
one question is not mine, but let's start with the first one. So, how do you define, or what is the difference between product positioning and brand positioning?
Sure. I'll be honest, it took me some time to wrap my head around it as well. Think of it as the market versus the person's head. In product positioning, it's me versus the other companies, or our company versus the other companies. So if I'm going to look at all of the options of apples that are in the world, I'm going to look at Red Delicious, Honeycrisp, Fuji, whatever. Honeycrisp, I'm going to position as the crunchiest. That's that word crisp. That is the product positioning. Of all of the competitor apples out there, Honeycrisp is the crispiest. But in my head, I'm going to position Honeycrisp as like this moment of delight, this moment of joy, for example. I'm going to want customers to think of that, splash of apple juice coming out of my mouth and my face going, oh, I love that, whatever it is. Brand opinions sit in your head, and they're how you want the customer to think about you. Product positioning is how you want the customer to think about you relative to the other products. So let me sum that up a little similar. Brand positioning is how you want your customer to feel about you. Product positioning is how you want your customers to see you relative to your competitors.
And so if you have a multi-product brand, and what changes is just that the brand positioning is the same for all the products.
It's going to depend on the nuances of your portfolio. If they're all under the umbrella brand, then yeah, you're going to want all of them to ladder up to some common feeling, some common brand opinion. And you would find that actually the products exist to express different brand opinions. I don't know if I'm not going to be able to come up with some sort of analogy on the fly, but you've got a portfolio of products. Each one of them has a reason and has a purpose. It's not just a set of features, functionality. There's a reason that we invested as a company in creating these products. And that is the opinion. We believe the world needs X and Y and Z. All of those reflect your brand, and all of those are why we have these individual products.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Dave, can we find you on LinkedIn, or where do you usually hang out?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. You can search for me, and hopefully you'll find me, and not the other people with my name. If they have hair, you can ignore them.